I just
Please.
hit the button.
Thank you. All right, I'll say it again. 8:42, beginning the September 16th public meeting. Do we have any members of the public here wishing to comment? That's a no. Okay. Moving on to approving the August 19th minutes. Are there any corrections to the minutes? Nobody. So I have
I have a correction, Sandy. I don't
Yeah.
think I was at that. I wasn't at that meeting.
No, you were not.
Yeah, I did watch it, but I didn't actually attend it. So
Okay, good catch. So you got that, Tanya?
Did you ask me a question, Sandy?
So Krista wasn't at the meeting. Does it show on page 1 that she was at the meeting?
It does.
Okay.
Well, we better share that.
because they're spirit.
Okay, thank you. The only correction I have, but I might need some help remembering, is on page 4 at the top, future agenda items. Staffing was chosen as something to tackle in the fall. Sandy asked for volunteers to work with Lincoln in reviewing staffing needs. There was discussion. Miles asked a question, et cetera, et cetera. If I recall, the conclusion of that was that Lincoln was going to work on assessing staff needs and then get back to us, as opposed to just right away commissioners working with them. Does that sound like a recollection? That was a next step. Okay.
That's my recollection.
Okay. All right. If you could add that in there, Lincoln to assess and report back. I use these minutes as a to-do list, so it's good when it tells us we have something to do. All right, so no, any other corrections to the minutes? No other corrections, then they are approved. Chair and commissioner reports. Commissioners wishing to make a report?
There. Scroll up and down. Amanda. Yes.
Jim, Jim, did you have a meeting with, I feel like you've had meetings either with Mike?
There have been meetings, but there's a liaison concluded meeting in October next month. Nevertheless, I can report on. I mean, there's a lot of words being generated, but I think one of the biggest things that's come up with regards to this climate and sustainability advisory committee is that the committee seems to be putting some pressure on to get some climate change stuff involved in the comprehensive plan, and yet the comprehensive plan, it sounds like they're trying to delay things, that either council or staff or whatever are trying to delay. We don't want to delay the comprehensive. So basically,
Did you guys cut out?
Hold up, Jim just froze. Everybody else is movable. Okay, now he's back. You said we don't. We don't want to delay the
Ensure
comprehensive plan.
climate action is fully integrated into the current. Need to make climate action. But
Okay, I'm going to stop you, Jim, because we can't really hear you anyways. I'm sorry. For some reason, it keeps locking up. So basically, let us know for next meeting where the land bank fits into this climate environment committee and what, if anything, we should be doing or adding. But thank you for keeping up with it as liaison.
well, I think that, you know, we're in an observational mode right now. You know, if anybody's doing anything about climate change and integrating that into decisions, it's probably us rather than anybody else at this point. So.
Okay. Thank you for staying abreast of it. Was there a, did you meet with Mike about the finance transitioning
Yes.
him into that?
We started that process. Mike and I and Lincoln and Aaron had a meeting. It might have been last week, I think it was, and went over some big picture items for better understanding. And we're going to continue talking about you know, getting Mike up to speed with regards to being a financial officer next year. And, you know, I think, you know, with his knowledge of the financial markets and understanding of financial issues, that it's going to be an easy transition.
Great. Thank you. Thank you. And thank you again, Mike, for accepting that. Okay, I have nothing to report in specific. So do we have Vicki Edwards? I do see a VE. We're going to have our partner update from San Juan Preservation Trust, and Angela Anderson is out, and Vicki Edwards is here to give us a short update.
Thank you so much, Chairwoman Friel. I appreciate it. And good morning, commissioners. My name's Vicki Edwards. I'm the Conservation Director at the San Juan Preservation Trust. We have one update for you all today, and that's that we are really excited to team up with the Land Bank on September 24th for Public Lands Day to celebrate our latest collaboration, the North Shore Glenwood Inn project. And it's going to be a pretty amazing day. We've got quite a few staff members as well as board members that are attending. The open house on the property is from 10 until 2. And the public is welcome to come out and take a peek at the property, learn a little more about it, and also to learn a little more about future management and the conservation easement that we're working towards. And if the public is interested in attending, the access and parking is kind of challenging. So the Land Bank has been kind enough to organize a shuttle from the Orcas High School, and the public can check out our website or the Land Bank's website for more details. But we are really excited to have this day of celebration with you all. Look forward to seeing many of you there, as well as our county council members. And that's it. That's it for our update.
Great. Thank you. Yes.
Thank you.
I'm really looking forward to it. We'll be there the whole time and hope, I know Krista isn't available. Brian will still be in Portugal. But we're hoping potentially any other commissioners that may be able to come out. If you can swing it, the ferry system coming over on Saturday. Lincoln, you'll be there, right? Yes.
Yeah,
Of
I'll
course.
be there. I also confirmed with Jane Fuller that she'll be there too.
Oh, great. Okay. All right. That's good to know. Okay. Thank you. And thank you, Vicki, for giving that update.
Thank you.
And so I'm not seeing Christine here. Christine Minnie, is that, anyone see Christine? I didn't hear from her, so I'm guessing that that she probably won't be joining us today. Because normally I would hear from her ahead of time.
I do see Mike Thomas on if he wants to give an update, council update, but that's his choice.
Ah, okay. All right. Yes, MT, Mike. Mike Thomas,
yeah.
go ahead
Good
if
morning.
you'd like anything to say.
Can you hear me?
Yes, can hear you fine.
Okay, great. I'm working remotely, so I always have to ask that question. I think everyone has to ask that question when they get on Zoom or, yeah, for council update. Obviously, a couple weeks ago, our big public works project, Prune Alley, was finally finished, and that took about 20 years. So we are still joyful that that project got done, and it's a real treasure for the community. Probably the other big thing that's going on is the comp plan. So the draft comp plan is pretty much through the planning commission, and the council started its review of the comp plan, and that review will go through probably at least November. Those familiar with the comp plan know that it has many elements. One of the discussion items in the community is about whether the comp plan should have a climate change or environment element. It will not have a climate element, but I will say that there's probably every section of it has climate related. So whether it's transportation or facilities, land use, there are climate policies sprinkled throughout the document. So I think the county fully understands the issues and has policies that I think will guide us as we go forward. Other than that, we're getting to the point of budget, so that always involves all the departments and land bank. The other thing that the county's working on is, you probably read, there's a lot of federal infrastructure money that's come out in the last couple months. So we are eager to figure out how to get that infrastructure money to augment the funds that we have going to roads and especially trails. Trails have been discussed in different venues. It's something the county's really interested in. So we're trying to find some federal money that we can do trails, and those can be separate trails, but those that drive around and see all these bikers, just a 3-foot shoulder goes a long way for pedestrian safety and cycle safety and vehicle safety. So it's one of the things that we're working on that we think will be a benefit to the community. The fair was well attended. It wasn't quite as well attended as years past, but for coming out of COVID, we thought that folks did enjoy having that opportunity again and took advantage of it. So those are my updates. Thank you, Sandy.
Thank you. May I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Or just maybe make a comment back to the grant money and looking at potentially expanding trails. There's something that's come up in several of our public comment opportunities, and that a request from the public, and that is that at the road ends that end in the shoreline, where there's accessible shoreline, they are wanting some within the right of way to be able to park a few cars, and that involves creating just some parallel parking there along the right of way within Public Works' ability to do that. And so I just wanted to share that. That has come up from the public multiple
Yeah.
times. I
So
don't
that's,
know if on the
That's an
radar.
interesting issue. It's an issue that came up probably about 6 or 7 years ago. The county looked at all of the road ends. I will say it is a sticky situation because it is public property. But you find over time that people have used or developed some of that right away. So it's an issue that has come up. We're happy to take a look at it again. But it will, I guess what I'm saying is there's a lot of interest in those, and then there's a passionate constituency that may be less than pleased having people park cars at those. So it's something that we've looked at over time, and I appreciate you passing me along people's want to use those road ends.
Okay, great. That's good to know that it has been looked at. Maybe there's some sort of a design mechanism that could help separate the cars from the private property if it ever comes to fruition. But thank you. At least now we know where kind of an answer we can give to the public when they bring it up. Okay.
All right. Thanks, Andy.
All right. Thank you. Let's see. We will move along nice and early. See, I caught up with the 10 minutes that, that I missed. Director's report, Lincoln.
Yeah. I will start with a couple of things. Actually, I wanted to go back to the commission and remind everyone that we are going to have 3 openings for next year. So one for San Juan, one for Lopez, and one at large. And so if you're not thinking about possible candidates, you should be, because we need to recruit some folks to fill those slots. Also, in that regard, I did want to tell you that we had a great day. Staff had a great day with Jane Fuller. She came over on Wednesday, and we did a briefing for her and then took her on a site visit to some of the preserves on San Juan. It's always very satisfying when you bring someone up to the top of Mount Grant for the first time and they get to see it. So anyway, looking forward to working with her. And glad she's going to be able to make the 24th. So on to acquisitions. We don't have a whole lot. Sorry, go ahead.
Question. Did you tell me earlier that you started advertising for the commission positions? I haven't thought you mentioned that. I haven't noticed it, but I am not looking everywhere.
Yeah, Tanya, what's our status on that?
It should be on the Orcasonian, and it'll be in the print paper in October weekly. And it's on our website. It'll be in the newsletter. And I think San Juan, they had some issues with the tile ad. So, but it's, yeah, we have started to answer the question.
Okay, good. Good to know. Thank you. And so commissioners, make a note to recruit. Thanks. Go ahead, Lincoln.
So we don't have a whole lot going on currently with acquisitions. We've got that second Hauschka parcel, but that is caught up in the lawsuit over Prohaska Road. So we're just kind of in a wait and see mode for that one. I will say that in our efforts to create alternative funding for the Higgins property at Watmow, we have submitted a couple of grant requests. We did a $500,000 grant request from Salmon Recovery, which Aaron Halcomb actually did. I was extremely grateful. And that one's come out really well. I think we're expecting an announcement from the Salmon Recovery Funding Board, I don't know, maybe next week, which should confirm that we are in the money for that one. And then I did a presentation for the Aquatic Lands Enhancement account for $1 million, and we ranked number 2 out of 10. So that's also looking very promising.
Great.
We won't know that's never confirmed until after the legislature meets and decides on a budget. So I'm talking March, April, something like that. But it will put us in a position having that money where we have to make a decision about what to do in terms of keeping the property, still wanting to resell the property to BLM because we can't, for us to accept the grants, it might still be possible for us to convey the property to BLM. It would make it a lot more difficult, and almost certainly it would almost completely devalue the property. So the idea of them buying it from us at market value would be off the table. But that's a decision that you all will have to think about probably next June or July, something along those lines. Hopefully by that time, we are expecting to have the management plan, resource management plan out probably in October. So that will give the community some answers to the concerns that they've expressed and might help us figure out a way forward on it. But good news on the grant front at any rate.
Thank you. Chris, question on that before you move on. Do either of those preclude fixing up that building that's on the property? Nothing would require us to remove the cottage. Is that correct?
No, the salmon recovery grant is fine with it. We would be restricted in using it as a residence, and that's for appraisal purposes. The ALEA grant, I basically cut out about, can't remember the exact area, but I drew a line around those structures and excluded it from the grant area. And again, as long as we're not counting it as a residence so that it devalues the property from an appraisal standpoint, we would be allowed to keep the structure and use it for alternative purposes.
Okay. So, but the idea of a caretaker or something, that would be gone, but it could be a building for cultural display or something like that.
Yeah, and what we're exploring now by way of a caretaker is something along the lines of a national parks camp host, where people come seasonally, they bring their own RV. We have the ability for people to park an RV on that property. And they're there for 3 or 4 months, which is our critical season where we're worried about stuff happening on the property that's not desirable. So that still would be very much on the table.
Excellent. Okay.
That's all I had for acquisitions. I just wanted to touch on the meeting that we're setting up with the county budget committee to talk about long-term stewardship funding or something like that. I don't think we have an exact title of this meeting, but that's the basic idea. And we're shooting to have that in the first week of October. So I think we'll be ready to do that, and it'll be a good conversation, just getting everything on the table. Mostly, I see this kind of as a philosophical conversation about how much we put into acquisition, how much we set aside for stewardship, and what that picture looks like going forward. And I don't know if anyone else has something to add to that, but we're on track to do it. Last, the Parks, Trails, Natural Areas Plan. Fortunately, we've got Brandon Cadwell and Aaron Wygant working on this, and they've come up with a new name, which is the Recreation, Open Space, and Stewardship Plan. So we're we're going to call it that now. ROSS is the acronym. Brian also made a slip saying he was sure he could come up with lots of acronyms for all the characters in Friends, but I stopped him at that point. Anyway, that's coming along fine. We have a good consultant in Cascadia, so we've been having weekly meetings about that, and we've been pulling together a lot of information and are working towards creating a draft plan, basically to get out to people and allow them to comment on. It's really, this is going to be since we've had a lot of the surveys done in the past few years, we're not going to redo a community survey part of this. We're going to use the ones done by Confluence and other ones that we have, and really just kind of work toward having a draft for people to respond to, rather than going out and getting public comment at the front end of this. So we're hoping to have something in October for people to react to. So you should be on the lookout for that. We will have a countywide virtual meeting to talk about it and to give people the opportunity to comment. And obviously we'll have opportunity for written comments, etc. So that's proceeding. And that's pretty much all I've got. Sandy.
Will this be incorporated into the comp plan?
No, it's really kind of outside of that. We had the last time around, the non-motorized transportation element of the comp plan was incorporated into this, also adding to the incredible unpronounceable acronym. But this time around, we've separated that back out, thinking that the trails we're talking about here are not roadside trails. You know, they're or shoulder trails, more accurately. There are other kinds of things, and so that element's really been put back into the comp plan. So this is okay. Outside of it. The primary purpose of this this plan is to keep us eligible for various grant categories for state grants, as well as to hear from the community what people are interested in seeing.
Is there some component when we were reviewing the flow chart, draft flow chart last month, within the within our code, it says that decisions would be made according to a ranking system that had been ranked by the public as part of the old open space plan back in the 90s or something like that. So will this will this be an update to that? In other words,
no.
Anything to do with helping us in terms of ranking for decisions?
No, I think we need to come back around to that conversation, because it does seem pretty clear that we need to update that plan, open space and conservation plan, since so much has changed since 1990.
It feels to me that that's an overlap with this, and maybe it could, but I won't complicate things. Just asking. Okay, moving forward, stewardship report, the Caulfield lease draft. Charlie is coming on.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi everybody.
Hi.
Did you all receive a draft copy this week, commissioners?
I don't think so. No.
Yeah, I guess lost in transit. Unfortunately, we tried to get it out on Tuesday evening, but I guess Aaron went on vacation possibly and wasn't able to get it out.
Aaron is traveling. Actually, he's at the Land Trust Alliance rally, so I'm not sure what happened.
Okay. Well, apologies for that. We do have a going draft that has so far been back and forth with the LUMs and has support from land bank staff and the LUMs, and that is a good place to be. We were hoping to get your support and questions, thoughts, comments to then pass it on for county legal review, and then to county council and Mike for being signed off on. We're doing good on timeline. This is our goal to have it to you guys for this meeting, and then wrapped up by the end of the year. I think we'll be in good shape if we delay till next meeting, October, and send it off, or if there's a way to do it just via email. Lincoln, do you know how that process would go?
Well, we can certainly circulate this and people can comment via email. That's probably the easiest way to do it. If there are really significant comments and questions and proposed substantive changes, then we should definitely talk about it at the next meeting.
Yeah. Okay. So I guess a shorter section than I was expecting, but I think, yeah, so far everybody's feeling very comfortable with it. There has been a round of commissioner, sorry, my computer's blooming me. Working on this in the past before we made the decision to work with the LUMs, so we've just basically kept working on that, a few changes here and there. But yeah, we'll get that to you and keep moving along. Met yesterday with the LUMs in the Conservation District. Again, there's a great new staff member, Pauline, working with the district for farm planning. She's coming on to help with the Kaufelt plan along with Bruce. So that's great that we're ahead of schedule on that also. And things are looking good.
Great.
Nice to see you all.
Yes, nice to see you too, Charlie. Good. Well, we'll look forward to receiving that, and excited things are going well.
Signing off. Thank you, guys.
Yeah. Okay. Next up is public comments and draft responses for Turtleback Stewardship Management Plan. Is that Peter?
Yeah, I'm happy to chime in here. Aaron, I don't know if you would like to speak as well, but so you all should have received a fairly large table that included all of the written public comments we received on the Turtleback Management Plan, and then our responses to those comments. And we have followed up with those individuals and shared those responses, as well as the bigger sheet there that shows everybody's comments, just so they can see theirs in context. But I think we've made minor changes to the draft since you saw it last. But basically, in response to comments, we went out to the Washington Trails Association to talk about our proposed trail changes, and made some minor tweaks to that, and decided we would hire them actually to consult on the proposed changes. And then Aaron followed up with WDFW staff regarding the deer hunting question. And again, it was to open the possibility of including portions of the preserve for deer hunting at some point in the future following a public process. So we weren't proposing to start hunting. So a few minor things there, but then the third sort of theme of public comments was around mountain biking. We responded to those. So I guess we're seeking, ultimately, commission support for the current draft, and any questions or comments about our questions and comments are welcome. Aaron, do you want to add anything to that?
I think, we notified everyone that we'd be discussing it at this meeting, everybody that commented. So I think both Peter and I were wondering who would show up if our responses would continue kind of with a back and forth. But I don't know, we only heard back from one person. So hopeful that kind of our transparency and our effort to communicate has gone well. I think that's all I would offer.
So are we looking at the next meeting to approve the management plan? Is that for October? After we sift through and commissioners give any last comments, but basically we've already had our first round of comments. So is that what we want on the agenda for October? Is an approval by the commission or discussion for approval in a public hearing? Is that how we do it? Yes. Does that sound right?
I think having the commission sign off on it at the next meeting would be good. The official process is for it to be attached to a budget.
Okay.
And then that budget is recommended to council for their final approval of budget, including management plan. So I'm not sure about the timing for that this time around.
So is it, do we actually call it a public hearing with a separate public comment, with public comments incorporated into that for the commission for next month?
I need to give some more thought to where we are on doing, whether we're doing a budget next time at the next meeting. I can't remember exactly where that stands, but I think it's fine for the commission to
approve it,
sign off on it. We'll incorporate it in a budget whenever that happens, and then that's the point where we will have a public hearing and people can comment.
Okay, Mike. Oops, you're muted.
There we go. Yeah, could you repeat again for me? I wrote down Viking shooting. I started reading that whole thing, quite a bit of text. And could you focus in on the controversial or the items that raised the most attention? One was biking, I think. One was shooting. I got those two. Was there others that there was a significant amount of input on both sides? Thanks.
Erin, would you like to do this, or would you like?
Well, I'll start. I think it was, there was rerouting a section of trail, which also garnered comments. I guess I would hesitate to use the word significant, because for mountain biking, we received 2. For hunting, we received 7. And there was kind of a flurry after a Facebook post to draw attention to it. But, just how this comes through with the trail decommissioning, Peter, I'm not sure, was it 3 folks? So these were the written comments. Something we did in addition was host public tours, which there were at least 3 of those. And went through all of this with folks verbally as well. And at that point didn't face resistance. But anyway, those 3 are what I'm recalling, and those are the numbers associated with the comments. Peter?
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, I would characterize this plan as amply reviewed. This was reviewed by Preservation Trust, by the commission. We received these public comments, did the tours, as Erin said. And so, yeah, I feel like we've addressed all the comments very thoroughly. And so, yeah, I think I'd like to turn it to you all to see what you're comfortable with. And I'm eager to get it approved and move on to others.
Yes. Okay.
Thank
Good.
you.
All right. Well, we'll work on that for next meeting.
Sandy, I'd just like to make a quick comment on that. The print was super small, but the information was big. And I was impressed by the thoughtfulness of the questions that came from the public. I thought they were pretty thorough in and of themselves and pretty well thought out in general and not necessarily surprising. And I am really grateful and appreciative of the staff response. Just the professionalism and the thoroughness, that it was great.
Good. I'm sure that's nice to hear.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else stewardship report wise or questions for stewardship?
This could be the shortest land bank commission meeting ever.
Yeah. Okay. So we'll go ahead and move on to the outreach and volunteer report.
Well, some of the things I was going to bring up have already come up, so that's great. Vicki shared really well about our open house celebration.
Oops, what happened?
It froze again.
Tanya, you're cutting out. Can you call in or something?
I can't call in. I am the meeting. If I could go away, you all go away.
This is the center of the universe of the meeting right here.
I'll type it into the notes. How's that?
We can hear you now. So why don't you keep
Talk
going?
fast.
You don't want that. Let's just say we've got open house. We have upcoming, I'm planning right now, Orca Recovery Day. We've done plantings on Turtleback in the past. And I'll talk to Peter about maybe a new area. And also at the end of the month on the 30th, there will be a guided tour at Mount Grant Preserve. Sorry, our lights keep going out. You got to move around, turn them on. And it'll be a precursor to the landscape restoration grant that everyone worked on and Turtleback.
At some point, it's just going to go out altogether.
That's it.
Hold it, guys.
Okay.
This is Amanda. I just unmuted myself. I couldn't chime in earlier, but I thought it might relate to the outreach report. Yesterday on Lopez, we had a bird walk at the Fisherman Bay Spit, and it was well attended. Nine people came. And we just had a good walk around the spit with, binoculars, and I brought a spotting scope. And we have those scheduled once a month through the end of the year. And people were very appreciative of the opportunity to get out.
Fantastic.
I have a stewardship question.
Yeah.
If we could go back to that just for briefly. Under the Driggs Park paragraph talking about the removal of the sod or the grass and switching from lawn to meadow, I just had a kind of a application question regarding that, especially if it becomes a demonstration. How does that work with Firewise in terms of meadow and, whatever growth around buildings and stuff? Is that part of that consideration? You know what I'm kind of talking about when they want that 100 foot buffer.
Defensible
Yeah.
area.
I mean, if nobody else chimes in, I'll just say that that's low growing herbaceous vegetation as opposed to woody. And, most would consider that to be a pretty quick fuel, not a ladder fuel, anything like that.
Great.
Mike?
Yeah, I don't know if I interrupted or not, this report. When we do these trail walks and the like, do we ever reach out to, I mean, I suspect that people that come to those things, they're volunteering to come, they're interested in what's going down, et cetera. I'm wondering if we want to reach out further. Would it be, I'm just thinking a couple of years out here, would it be smart to have or try to have a meeting at one of our sites talking about what we're doing with people like the board of the EDC or the Visitors Bureau or some of these groups that might not necessarily come out on their own, but would come out if there was a reception or a coffee meet and greet, something on one of our properties, just to expand the visibility of what we're doing to groups that should care, and might help broaden understanding among the community of things that we're doing. That's all I have. If I can figure out how to take my hand down.
Yeah.
You did it. Yes,
Yeah.
we can. And those are great suggestions, Mike. And we did have kind of what we were calling our, I call it coffee clutch, but the meet and greet with the island commissioners. And then COVID hit. So that would be another kind of, I think, take on that as well. So I've got a note in here. Thank you.
Another thought along those lines, it would be involving school kids, like having it during a school day and maybe coordinating with a science teacher or something. You like that? Got a thumbs up. But no, I think all these outreach. Go ahead, Peter.
I was just going to say, I will say that Tanya's working on, there's a number of school things teeing up on Orcas, visits to preserves, organized visits to preserves. So that's happening.
Fantastic. All right, any other commissioners with questions or comments? So I have three. The first off, for the September 24th open house at the North Shore Preserve, I knew there was initial concern about having people completely wander around if it's, since we don't have trails and there's some areas maybe that aren't safe. How did we decide to set that up? Will you have us at different stations to try to guide people in a certain area, or is this something that we'll talk about? I'm just wondering when I show up, do I have a role? Okay? What's the plan?
I'll say something only because Tanya might cut out.
Okay. Okay.
So we are talking about this, and Tanya's idea was to have a couple of stations. So we'll set up around the newer barn building, and then we'll have a station down near the beach front, the bluff front cabins, and then another one down on the beach. And there can be some flow of people on their own around the property between that, but we'll have places where people can check in, learn a little something, and then get guided down to the next one. So we've had I think by the end of this month we will have had 100 people or so on these tours, and I think we're kind of figuring out what works. And there's been a little wandering, and it's been fine. So I think we'll find roles for people that want them, and we'll circle back before that date, I think.
Okay.
On specifics.
Okay, that sounds good. And then I just wanted to mention, and I'm kind of bringing this up here because we haven't had our communications meeting, I think, in maybe 2 months for different reasons. I wanted to point out that we will have a fall community conversations series coming up. I don't know if that's October or November. Were we into November for that? So just something to be thinking about.
Gotta get some dates.
So I think that's island specific as opposed to island wide. Is that how we had set that up? I can't remember.
No.
No, the other way around.
Correct. In the spring, we did district. And in the fall, if we want to follow the format of last year, we did one countywide.
Okay. All right. So
Last year we had a theme for the fall, which was about stewardship. So that was our emphasis. And we haven't talked about whether we're going to have a focus or anything like that this time around.
okay. So I guess I'd recommend that we get a communications meeting scheduled. Maybe since we've missed a few, schedule it in the next week or two, so we have time before the next meeting. Yeah. Okay.
So if we do the next if we wait till the next meeting, that means then the community meeting is automatically would be in November, I guess. Unless we are able to secure a date. It's just getting dates prior to Thanksgiving that might work. Prior to Thanksgiving, prior to our November meeting. Yeah.
So maybe Tanya, I don't know if it's Friday, it's probably might be too soon to schedule a Tuesday communication meeting, but I might be able to attend. Anyways, if we could follow up after this meeting and see how quickly we could get that meeting scheduled so we can start planning. So there was that. And then the other thing I wanted to ask about and mention, and Mike Thomas is off. Sorry, go ahead, Jim.
What about retreat?
Yes, there's that as well.
Okay. Well, I just wanted to say the word.
Retreat.
Retreat.
Yes, retreat.
Retreat.
So we had our retreat last year in February, earlier this year in February.
But that was atypical because we usually did them in the fall.
Correct. Last fall, we were focused we had our big Kaufelt Farm meeting in December, I think. So we felt like that was all the bandwidth that we had for deep diving. And yes, Krista.
Oh, I'm just going to suggest that we consider February again. It might, unless it's too late for staff. But since we should have 3 new commissioners, it would be nice to have that retreat, have them participate in that retreat.
Oh, that's a good point.
It may be, I guess I would have an alternate proposal. That my hope would be that we have a pretty good sense of who those folks are going to be by December, so that we could have a retreat with both the outgoing and incoming folks participating. But that's just I don't know.
That's what I did. I attended the November meeting the year before I started. So I was in attendance, but not yet a commissioner. It was very helpful.
Okay. All right, Mike.
I can hold off. I want to ask a little bit more about the communication meeting. So let's stay with the agenda for
Stay with the retreat. Okay, so the idea being maybe having a December retreat, but the thing is so the new people don't get appointed until January by the county council. Is that right?
Yep.
So what we would invite candidates to attend even before they knew that whether or not they would be joining. Is that right? Okay. Okay.
I mean, we can also have the commissioners after they go off participate in the retreat too. That's the other way of doing it.
Yeah. How do you feel about that, Jim, Miles, and David?
I'll still be here.
Okay.
That would be fine with me.
Yeah,
So
that'd work. Although I do think it wouldn't hurt to have the potential candidates attend the meeting prior to their appointment. I think that's fine. I don't think that's
Okay.
unreasonable at all.
Okay.
Yeah.
So maybe we shoot for December because November feels a little quick right now to plan for. Do do we have a running list of topics potential, or does anyone want to spitfire out some ideas? We haven't really given it any thought yet, so.
Are you talking about for the offsite?
For the retreat, for the annual retreat.
We've got a couple down here into the future agenda items that would be probably good. One is the Land Bank's collective big dream and goal for OR resiliency. I mean, that sounds like a top level, not so much tactical, but strategic discussion, which is, I think, perfect for this. And maybe some of those others like wetlands mitigation or development rights. Not quite sure what's involved in those, but I think we've got a couple items right there. I would ask the question whether or not the council could actually name replacements prior to them taking effect. In other words, December 1st, for example, they know who they basically identify that starting January 1st, these three people are going to become commissioners, and then they could come to our offsite, our retreat, as sort of a pre-preparation to become a commissioner and to be a commissioner, be active. So I don't know if they can do that, or it's just not enough time. But yeah, I think a couple of these items here would be really good.
Okay.
Yeah,
David?
on that, sorry, let me just jump in here.
Yeah.
On the issue of them making a pre-appointment, there may be some rules that they have to adhere to about not closing the application process early. I don't know, but we'll take a look at it.
David?
Yeah, I think that the meeting with the county finance folks is going to provide some retreat material.
Oh, good point.
I think that's probably going to be some top level stuff there.
Mm-hmm.
And I would add, as far as new commissioners is concerned, that one would only hope that we're going to have, more than one candidate for each position, but I don't know, how that's going to shake out. Well, the sooner that we can get on that, the better. I'm having some discussion with a couple of people, but I think it's important that we identify potential candidates as soon as possible.
Agreed.
I would add as a retreat item that I think it's going to be important for commission and staff to really think through what information or what other outreach we might feel like we should be doing in preparation for there being an outside renewal committee established. So just, I think we need to position ourselves so that we're confident that we've really brought the community up to speed in what we're doing, and feel good about just people's knowledge of the operation, and if there are gaps, that's a good point to really start to figure out how to plug those gaps throughout 2023.
And I'll add that I will be getting involved in that after the end of the year, and have had some conversations loosely with other people that were involved in previous renewal efforts. So, you know, there's a movement afoot.
I've had multiple people reach out to me in the community wanting to participate in that. So to your question, Lincoln, about what gaps there might be in our outreach or communication, at what point would we consider a community survey? I mean, we've had quite a changeover of residents and new people here, but then there's going to be even more change before November 2024. So is there a strategic point that we might reach out and find out who still needs to know what?
Yeah, I think that's going to have to be later, probably in the last part of 2023. That's my guess, assuming that the renewal committee makes a decision about trying to get on the ballot for 2024. What we could do in the interim, though, is basically convene some focus groups of people where we try and pull in some leaders in the community to get their opinions on, you know, how they think things are going. That's another possibility. So that's something we could do a bit earlier.
Is that something that might be suitable for a community conversation?
Yeah, maybe so.
Since we're looking at that point, we've had several where we're putting out information, and maybe we could have more of it be a town hall getting input or something. Sure.
I would suggest also the real estate groups or the group of realtors, et cetera, would be a real good group to focus in education. I was thinking about the communication meetings we're having. I assume they're basically one way, that we're talking about the things that we're doing and what's important and priorities, which would be a good education meeting and update for people like the real estate people or EDC, et cetera. Folks that we'd like to have a really clear idea of what we're doing and why it's good for the community, leading up to a 2024. So anyway, that I was thinking that these specialty groups that we can that have tentacles into the community that might help further the word about what we're doing would be useful.
Okay, good. We can talk about that at our communications meeting and hopefully assemble a list and a strategy. So my last thing I wanted to bring up was, so we have a new communications coordinator at the county who is getting a lot of messaging and articles out. I know there's a new social media policy. I haven't seen it. I don't know if it applies to volunteer boards or only staff positions. And then I have a little bit of a concern that, well, we're getting our message out the way we have been, and then I see a duplicate message going out from the county, from San Juan Communications. I know that we don't get to do special treatment, you know, but I just want to make sure it doesn't look like we don't know what we're doing. I don't know if how you guys are feeling about it being a coordinated thing, or is it better that we prepare releases and just have them go out that way? Does that help, Tanya? Tanya, do you have thoughts on this? And maybe this is part of the communications meeting, something we can talk about just to make sure we look aligned and not that we're doing something and then they do something and then it doesn't look right.
Why don't we let Krista ask her question and then.
Oh, Krista has a hand up. Yes.
That's right. It seems like we're in the middle of developing communication avenues with the county on several levels anyway. And so I think that's where this topic needs to be brought up. If they're developing a communications person, then I'm going to presume that they have a policy on what they want departments doing or groups, whatever. And so it may or may not matter what we prefer to do. I think we need to find out how much leeway we have, or how that they're structuring that, because we are county. So if they have a policy on how it goes, we should know that before we develop our own, I guess.
So it doesn't look like we're rogue doing our own thing.
Yeah, I think communication has been our theme with them for a couple months now. So I think we should just continue that to carry that banner and see where it takes us.
Okay, that's a good point. So Lincoln and Tanya, I guess bat that back over to you to work with. Get back to us.
Tanya, what were you going to add?
Yeah.
Well, I was just going to say that Krista's right. We're still kind of figuring it out. I communicate with Erin Wygant, the new communications coordinator manager for the county, and we use very similar. Well, we have the same media. Sometimes the things that we send out maybe don't warrant a news flash. So I think she and I can coordinate more on that, and our styles are a little different. Hers might be, often the news flashes are more, I would say, like journalistic, if that makes sense, versus sometimes we have more of a story to tell. So, but we, like, as an example, what will be coming out of the landscape restoration grant, I shared with Erin just if there's anything in there she thought maybe that could have more of a county focus. And she, I haven't looked at it, but I see she emailed me back to, more, I think, stylistic edits than anything else. So I guess the short answer is we're in communication and have a very good working relationship.
Okay, great.
Yeah, I think that's developing pretty well. So when we did the Hauschka press release too, we did coordinate with them and made sure to get a quote from Christine in there as well. Just trying to better integrate things. So I think we're moving in that direction. And I do see that Christine is on if she wants to make a comment. Mike did the council update, but figured I would give you, Sandy, the opportunity to ask Christine if she wanted to say a few words.
Oh, okay. All right. Hi, Christine.
Hi, I do not have to break in right now, but I will.
No.
It's actually thanks to Sandy that I am here. It was on my mental calendar for next Friday. But speaking of communication, I do rely upon the monthly email with the agenda and materials, and I did not get that this month.
Oh.
It's true.
Okay.
So I'm happy to be here now, and I'm sure that Mike did probably a fine job of reporting. So
you know what? You're right. You got left off. You're not CC'd here. All right.
Next month.
Sorry about that.
No, it's fine. I'm just glad I got to tell my side. just so you know that I wasn't skipping out.
Okay. All right. We'll make sure that doesn't happen again. So thanks for coming on. What we were just talking about, Christine, that maybe you might have some input in, is we were wanting to coordinate, and Tanya's telling us she's very pleased with Erin Wygant and how things are going in terms of we've been proactive with our communications, but we want to make sure that we're not duplicating efforts, so that it's coordinated between the land bank and the county communications. We still have our own stories to tell, but there's some overlap in getting messaging out. So
yes, I think that what Tanya had to say makes really great sense in terms of the different approaches and trying to sort of merge them, so to speak. Krista really hit the nail on the head with the understanding that because there is policy, it is, very important that it be followed to the degree that we all feel comfortable. And Lincoln too made a really good point about the most recent Hauschka press release, which did come out, based on both forces joining and putting it out in the way that best suited both parties. I think it went really well.
yes, yeah, okay, good. Was there anything we talked about earlier that we would want to mention to Christine? We talked about having our annual retreat in December, and we have some ideas for those topics. Oh, I know what it was. It was about the idea. So we want to have an annual retreat in December. We'd like to have existing commissioners be part of that, and potential new candidates to the commission, new appointees, to also be able to participate or attend. And so we were wondering if there's, when do new appointees, new commissioner positions get decided? Does it need to wait until a January council meeting, or what? If the term ends the end of December, is there a way that we could preemptively know who that would be?
In all of my experience, it has sort of come down to the wire, and that includes our experience this time last year, or when we, made our appointments. The last time, decision wasn't made until literally almost too late. Typically, the positions are not even advertised through the county until 45 days before the expiration date of the commissioner's term. I don't see why that couldn't be brought, made larger, but I think that the process is bigger than being fast. And I think that from what I understand, you and Lincoln and myself will probably have a similar approach to the last time, and that and so that the length of that process, I think, is what will be in question. But Lincoln may be right about the fact that we have to accept applications up to a certain point, and I don't know what that is.
Okay. All right.
And Christine,
I see you. Yes. What, Lincoln?
I just wanted to make a point that the retreats are public, so if anyone has interest, they can't come.
Okay.
Right.
Got it. Okay, good point.
And I was just going to add that we are going to start advertising here, or may have already started advertising on our own, just to try and broaden the awareness of it as much as we can.
For sure.
Okay. All right.
Krista.
Just a quick thing then, because if we're already out there doing our own advertising and the county can't advertise 45 days prior, then we should coordinate and find out the closing date that the county's going to be setting to coordinate with our closing date, I guess. Because it doesn't make sense for us to close, or we probably don't. It's probably rolling until filled, but the county probably does will need to have a closing date on the application so that we can, New Year's Eve, we can all find out who's getting put on the commission.
Yeah, I'll do that legwork today with Ingrid, understanding the date through which we have to accept applications, and I'll let Sandy,
Okay, that's great. And I'm guessing that we would be having a new land bank chair next year, because this was my second year. We haven't gone through talking about nominating who that might be, but it could be that person is who is participating if it's in January. So, okay. Future, anything else on these subjects?
I have this is Mike, my mic.
Yes, Mike.
The second topic, improvement of communications with county council. This dust up we had a couple of months ago. I don't know.
Was there a dust up?
Huh?
Was there a dust up?
Was there a dust up? It's just settling. But I guess the point was,
yeah.
Did the council and did the commission, did we sit down and identify where there were maybe communication things could be improved, that the processes are good? I mean, I haven't heard. I was hoping to hear sort of a post. Here's what we could have done better to improve the situation and make sure it doesn't reoccur. Now maybe I missed something, but and maybe you guys don't think we need it. I mean, between Christine and Lincoln and Sandy, it'd be important to know that we are doing things to avoid any kind of communication contribution to that situation. That's what I got.
Yes, that is still present on my mind. And what I did for last meeting, just on my own, was to draft out that flowchart process as sort of the beginning. And I have some edits to make to that based on our communication. And then Mike Thomas got a copy of that and spoke to me yesterday in that he'd like to get input from the PA's office and county council. And to me, it seems like having a document that we could all look at might be a good starting point for kind of walking through the process and then seeing what, if anything, needs refined in terms of smoothing the way, what other people need. So I feel like it's better if we have something concrete in front of us that we could be discussing.
I think that's great, Sandy, and just wanted to make sure that it was still really visible until, and that we got county council involved in it, and Thomas and the PA and the people that were involved. Everybody's got input to say this would help me better, make it better for me and make it better for us. So thank you.
Okay, so I'll make a note that I need to put in the edits that we discussed last meeting. I didn't get it done in front of you guys for this meeting. And Christine, do you have anything you want to add around that concept?
I just think that, we've sort of crossed a finish line, so to speak, that allows us to move forward in that conversation. And so it's definitely on the top of my radar moving forward.
Okay, good. And do you like this concept of the flow chart process?
Very much. Yeah,
okay.
After having a conversation with Mike yesterday, and hoping that you feel as comfortable with it as you seem, I think it's a great path forward.
Okay, so my one thing that I expressed to him that I kind of feel strongly about, I think Lincoln would probably agree, is that I want those blocks that are tied to either our mandate or our ordinance to be, in bold or have a hot link. And if we add any extra things that help smooth the process, I want to remain clear about what's absolutely required, and then what we are adding to that, so that those two don't get conflated, I guess is the thing, to make sure that we are absolutely checking off what's required, and then the other things would be in agreement, but that they're not actually codified. I don't know why it's important to me in my mind to still have that distinction. Not that it would be optional to follow, but I'm doing one of my ramblings. Anyways, I'll get on it.
I understand you, and that's very fair.
Okay, so I will have that for us for next meeting, and potentially even have gotten feedback from Mike, etc. I don't know, do you think, Christine, that ultimately this should result in, or can result in a sit-down meeting once we have all had our bites at it, and a joint meeting to kind of review, or would it just be representatives? Or
I think that's a good question. I think that we've talked all along about a joint meeting, and we, should sort of continue on that path in the way that we can figure out how to make that happen. I don't know that we will be able to decide it here, but I think this will be a great conversation for you and I to have, in the coming days.
I think that meeting might be good. Just a thought that it would be after we have maybe after we have a new council person and new commissioners, because it would serve as also a bringing them up to speed. In other words, the existing ones have the ability to help make their comments and edits to it, but then the sit down is maybe afterwards. I don't know, just a thought. Okay.
It's a good thought.
All right. Very good.
I have a question. Yeah. I have a question for Christine. Are you going to be able to make the open house on the 24th?
I'm going to answer that with 100% honesty. 100%. I have a personal, I'm so torn. And so the 100% truthful answer is I have not decided, because I do have a personal commitment, but I have this very important professional commitment, and my mind has not I haven't got there yet, but that's the answer.
Well, you have not been on the property, right?
I have not been on the property.
So we'll get you out there in any case, but I just wanted to ask the question.
Yes, and I am, when my mind says what the right thing is, I'll let you know.
Fair enough. Okay. I think we've got a lot on our plate already for future agenda items, things we need to work on. So if there's nothing, is there anything else someone wants to bring up that's not already on our list that we need on our radar for future? No? Okay. All right, well, then 10:07 p.m. a.m. Let's adjourn the meeting.
Thanks, Sandy.
Okay, thank you all. Bye-bye.
Thanks all. Bye.
Thank you.